Hi friends, today we're going to create a piece of art inspired by Mondrian. He was an artist that lived over 100 years ago. He became really famous for creating art made of straight black lines and primary colors. He uses a lot of red, yellow, and blue. I'm going to show you a couple pieces of art that he made, and we're going to talk about how they're all the same and how they're different. All right. The first thing I see when I look at this one is that big red square. So when he added his black lines to this canvas, he created squares and rectangles. He has one big red square, a medium-sized blue square, and a really small yellow square. And then if you notice, he left some of his spaces white. Let's look at a different painting. This one has a lot of white space on it. I still see a little bit of red, yellow, and blue. But he left a lot of white space. But the most important thing I want you to notice is where his lines are. All of his lines go up and down. That's called a vertical line. Or they go side to side. That's called a horizontal line. Those lines, when they intersect, they can create shapes. We have rectangles, and then in some places we have squares. This one is a lot more colorful. It doesn't have as many long, skinny lines, and it doesn't have as much white space, but we're still only seeing horizontal and vertical lines, and we see squares and rectangles. This one has a lot of lines on it. It creates a whole lot of squares and rectangles, and he chose to only color some of them red, yellow, and blue. And if you notice, he made some of them black too, but he left most of them white. The most important thing I want you to notice is that there are no diagonal lines. A diagonal line goes from corner to corner like you see here. If you had a diagonal line, what shape would you make? A triangle. We cut squares into triangles when we made our quilt square last week. We don't want to have any triangles on our Mondrian art because he didn't use triangles. Even though they're my favorite shape, we're not going to be using them today. All right, we're going to watch this quick video, so have your supplies ready to create your Mondrian art. All right, friends, let's get ready to make our Mondrian-inspired shape art. If you are in first or second grade and you have printed out a piece of paper to make your shape art on, we have first grade hearts, we have second grade animals. If you don't have a printer, that's okay, because you can just use a rectangular piece of paper and you're going to end up with shape art like this. So yours will actually look even more like Mondrian's art because his canvases are usually a rectangle. So what I'm going to have you do is start out with your piece of paper. I'm going to do a heart, and you're going to need a red, blue, and yellow marker. You're going to need a black permanent marker, and you're going to need a ruler or something to help you make some straight lines. You're also going to need a pair of scissors later. I'm going to set those to the side for right now. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our Sharpie and our ruler, and we're going to work on those horizontal and vertical lines. So the first thing I always like to do is make a vertical line going up and down somewhere across my heart. Not quite in the middle. I'm going to go off to the side a little bit. And since we're going to cut this out, it's okay if I go outside the line. So I'm going to make my first line going all the way across my heart, up and down. And then I'm going to turn my ruler and I'm going to make a horizontal line going all the way across my heart from side to side. So those first two lines we're going to make are going to look like a plus sign. They're going to intersect. And then I can start to add lines that don't necessarily have to go all the way across my paper. So this one, I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to stop once I get to one of those other lines I made. So I'm going to be looking for the biggest white spaces I have and try to think of ways that I can break them up into smaller rectangles and squares. Okay, so up and and down. Make a vertical line. I think I'll go ahead, and that makes a cool shape right there. And then I'm going to make some more going across. I think I'll come across here and stop. So just keep checking out the shapes that you're making with those lines and see if you want to make them smaller. I like to always add just a couple of small squares in there, because it looks interesting once we start to add our color. But you can make as many lines as you want. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our color. So we have our 3 markers. We have our red, our yellow, and our blue. And then we're just going to pick some shapes to color in. I want to make sure that we leave a couple of them white, because Mondrian liked to leave some of his spaces not colored. And the nice thing about the shapes, if you have one of your shapes printed out, you can color sloppy and get outside the lines, because we're going to cut these out. Okay, and I think I'm going to go ahead and make this one red too. Nice big red space. Add some blue. And some yellow. All right, I think I'm going to leave the rest of my spaces white. And now I'm ready to cut my heart out. Remember, if you're doing a rectangle, you don't have to cut anything out, but you want to make sure you take your color all the way to the edge of your paper. But just be really careful, especially when you're using your black permanent marker, that you don't get black permanent marker on your table or your desk or wherever you're working. You might want to put some cardboard or newspaper down to protect your table. All right, friends, and when we get all finished, we are going to have some Mondrian inspired shapes. So remember, first grade was making hearts when we're at school. Second grade is making animals, but you can do either one, and you can also do a big rectangle if you want. All right, friends, I hope you had fun with this project.